Hello, everybody out there on YouTube. We are the Middle-Aged Guys, and in this particular video, we're going to be bullshitting a little bit about Nintendo in general. I am the Reverend.
The theme here.
Grandmouse 1.
Earlier this week, it was reeled out that the Video Game Awards, the Game Awards, 2016 Game Awards are coming up, and one of the things that's been happening over the last few months is that there have been a lot of nominations for different ballots and awards and things like that. Well, there's a particular category that came up for the Game Awards. I keep on saying Video Game Awards. It's actually just Game Awards. They started listing out what they called the Best Fan Creation category of awards, where they would go out of their way and they would list, okay, these are the best fan-made games for these particular franchises and other things, and then they would allow people to go ahead and vote on them, set them up, and then they would go ahead and, at least since these fan creators can't get commercially recognized, at least they would get critical recognition by the Game Awards themselves. Okay. What a lot of people noticed earlier this week was that two particular games that were on the nomination ballot were quietly removed off. Those two particular games that we're talking about was another Metroid 2 remake and Pokemon Uranium. Okay. Now, if you've seen any of our videos before, all right, we've mentioned these two particular fan-made games in length about a lot of the fan-made games that were DMCA'd by Nintendo, or actually, in the case of Pokemon Uranium, they didn't get DMCA'd, but the publisher went ahead and took it down. They were fearing that if they left it up there, they would have run into legal issues. And given Nintendo's track record, that's probably well-founded. Okay, now a lot of people are speculating why the nominations were quietly pulled off the ballot, but it does stand to reason that it might be because Nintendo's actually one of the official sponsors of the Game Awards. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts? Okay, I must emphasize again that what we're going to go over, except for the few times where we start citing instances from history, this is pretty much pure speculation because there hasn't been any official word one way or another. All we know is that Pokemon Uranium and another Metroid 2 remake were on the ballot for nominations for Best Fan Creation for 2016, and then all of a sudden it disappeared a few weeks ago.
Okay, look, I understand if they're going to be taken down, if the speculation is correct. Yeah. I do understand, but they are still fan-created games. In the category states fan-created games.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a double-edged sword here for me. I mean, I'm all in about the interest of fairness, and in the interest of fairness, yeah, those two should be there, even though either one of those two would probably win the fucking award.
Yeah.
Hands down. Because, I mean, let's face it, those two games, those two fan-made games, man, oh man. But I can't even say that Nintendo are just total dicks for doing this if they actually are responsible for having them taking off the ballot. Mm-hmm. I can't actually say that because, again, people were actually taking the stuff that, that they own and tweaked it up and made their own stuff and then just put it out. It's not like they were making profit or anything like that, but they were still fan-made games. So I'm a bit torn between all of that.
Yep. What about you, Grey Mouse? What are your thoughts on that?
Is anybody surprised?
No, a lot of people are surprised. But as far as the reason that they speculate why it's happening, I don't think people are surprised about that. Go ahead.
I mean, I think if Nintendo's sponsoring, I think it's kind of a conflict of interest in a way. Even though they didn't make them. It was still based off their IPs, and I kind of echo the same thing that Dean was saying, that it's still fan-made games, and they still. I feel that, especially all the time that it takes to make these games, I feel that they should at least get some recognition in the fact that their hard work.
Yep.
I mean, that's like if I make a game called like Duck Triumph or something like that, and instead of 2 ducks like on regular Duck Hunt, I have all 10 ducks go up, and you have to shoot all 10 perfectly, because remember, there are like 10 rows of ducks that you have to clear in order to clear the stage or whatever. I mean, fuck. Yeah, I'll be using Nintendo's IP and stuff like that, but again, I would create it. So, again, and what if I use different sounds? Maybe I didn't use the same sounds from the original Duck Hunt. I just used the sprites.
Well, if you use the sprites, that's probably an issue right there. As far as it goes, though, the actual sport of hunting ducks is not anything that anybody could copyright. You could go out of your way to do that. So that one might be a little bit easier.
I mean, I wouldn't, and the thing about it is, okay, I wouldn't have called it Duck Hunt. I would have called it something else.
Yeah, I think what's
Duck 'em up.
that game already exists on the DS.
Sure, it does, so I couldn't say that.
Yep. But one of the things that kind of got people is that it was quietly pulled off of the ballot. It was sitting, AM2R and Pokemon Uranium were sitting on the ballot right next to, I believe, Brutal Doom, which Bethesda actually went out of their way, and I believe they tweeted out, and they were like, to the fan creators, their page, and they're like, hey, this is actually pretty cool. All right. And same thing with I believe it's called Enderal, the Shards of Order, which is I believe that's a Skyrim. Let's see here. It's a Skyrim mod, which goes ahead, and it's like a whole other adventure and everything based off of the Skyrim engine and universe and all of that. So with this particular one, I understand Nintendo's hardline like position on a lot of their DMCAs and a whole bunch of other things, because ultimately it is their IP, right? But in this particular case, what's the real damage in actually recognizing that somebody did something really creative based off of your work?
What? That they wouldn't do it themselves?
I mean, yeah. I mean,
that's the only damage I can think of. They did something that Nintendo wouldn't on their IPs.
So would the Nintendo fan-made games then be considered Genesis games, because Genesis does what Nintendo don't?
But
I saw that a mile away. I knew you were
yeah, but still, it's still funny to think about, because it's like.
But do you blame them, though? I mean, it's their IP. If nobody protects their IP, it's a slippery slope that Nintendo doesn't want to go down.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing about it is that as much as people love Sega for being very loose with fan projects and everything else, is that the problem with it is that it may not be something that they're going to be worrying over right now. But if somebody actually goes out of their way and makes a big enough production about it, and they want to go ahead and sue over it, that person will actually have precedent to sit there and say they didn't give a fuck about it before. So why are they giving a fuck about this right now? Obviously a lot of money in it, time into it. Let me go ahead and make something off of it, and that's really where it's cool as what some of the other creators or some of the other publishers allow their fans to do. There is a slippery slope that they could end up falling down, where it's like if they don't protect their own IP, are they going to be later on be left out in the cold when something does come up and they do get challenged on it? Because that sort of thing has happened before.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, go ahead, Grandmas.
No, I was going to say that, like you said, it may end up being better than what the original product was, and they're making all this money all of a sudden, and then Sega's like, whoa, wait a minute. And then they have no leg to stand on at this point. Even now, I mean, after all you see their icon Sonic all over the place now.
I mean, it puts them in a really odd spot. And when you brought up that whole thing about like the possible conflict of interest, especially considering that Reggie Fils-Aimé is actually one of the advisors for the Game Awards, that does put him in a weird spot too. It kind of sucks because the thing is that the two fan-made projects are really, really good. You'd hope that maybe again we're speculating that Nintendo went and forced them off. But if Nintendo did force them off, you'd hope that maybe they would go out of their way and give a little bit of leeway on this particular one, because they're not getting any sort of monetary rewards. It's just recognition and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I would hope that something would come up maybe sometime in the future that hopefully Nintendo could find a way to work with more people for these particular things.
To add on to what you're saying, maybe they don't want those guys to have recognition. Not being, I don't know, maybe that's just selfish, because they did put a lot of work. I'm not going to say they didn't put a lot of work on, into what they did. They did. But for Nintendo to acknowledge that, that's like acknowledging, yeah, I'm all right with you taking our IPs and creating your own stuff. So I think that's another reason why that they haven't said, they haven't even said anything. But again, previous videos that we did, we've even mentioned that, well, why don't Nintendo bring these particular people on board? And then, that's another slippery slope. So I think right now, Nintendo's playing it best, to be quite honest with you, especially a big corporation such as it. It's better to be hands-off and tell people, yeah, you're the bad guy in the room, but at least you're the bad guy to everybody. You know what I mean? You're not taking preference over this like a certain other company's doing right now. And so Sega, Nintendo is not doing that. They're standing up on that cliff, and they got that saying, no, you're not going to do this to our IPs, even though they're not even acknowledging that it was good stuff. I think that's the best approach, because that way they'll have a leg to stand on when litigation happens. And believe me, if those games stayed up longer than they did, and the guys will probably want to get, paid for their efforts some way, and that way Nintendo could say, no, we've been against this from day one, and they have something to stand on, But on the other foot, like Sega, if somebody makes something, like we said earlier, if somebody makes something better than them, you know what? Sega has nothing. They can't even litigate. Well, why all of a sudden are you caring now?
It's funny.
You made money and then you're not making it? Is that why you care now? So no, yeah, Nintendo wants to stay far away from that as possible. And although I hate to be the bad guy here in the room, but I'm actually kind of glad that because they haven't changed their position ever on this. They stand stone cold, as a wall here. That's it. There is no leeway in that. And I think that's a good thing. I think they should continue that track. Yeah, it's unfortunate that those guys who spent all that time creating those great masterpieces. But I think it'll be wrong for Nintendo to acknowledge that, and especially at a game show, because all it's going to do is encourage other people to do that. And again, they're going to have to send out cease and desist. It's a really slippery slope, and Nintendo knows that. And I think they're taking a high ground on this, and I think that's the best move. That's just my opinion, though.
In order for Nintendo, for me to have a leg to stand on in this, make some good fucking Metroids again. If you really look at it, that's why, like, another Metroid 2 remake was done. You know, look.
But the thing is, though, is what a lot of people are not understanding. It's their IP to do whatever the hell they want with it. It's not our right to make something from their IP. It's just not.
But but Nintendo is Nintendo is known for making games.
They can.
But if
Nintendo has the right to do that.
But if Nintendo is known for making games and we're gamers and we want good games, then the only way that Nintendo is going to have a leg to stand on as far as gamers are concerned is to actually make some fucking good-ass games that we want as far as those franchises go. Now, it's their IP. They have every right to protect it. And that part is over.
No, and they have every right to not make games for that IP as well. But it's true.
That's true, but we're gamers. We're the ones that's keeping Nintendo alive. So as far as that goes,
what was that song at Trump's rallies? How's that song go? Something about we don't always get what we want. I think it's from Rolling Stone.
No. And neither will Nintendo if they don't make the shit that we want. That's a give or take issue here. So as far as Nintendo having a leg to stand on, as far as saying, you know, as far as game-wise, they better step it up.
No, internally, my opinion, internally, I hope that put fire on their ass and said and showed that, yeah, people still want a 2D Metroid.
But that's the point that I'm bringing up.
Yeah,
and,
I hope
as far as protecting their IP,
yeah.
As far as doing that, I understand that's fully their right and their obligation to do so. So I have no objections there. But as far as saying that, okay, we're going to stop that and we're not even going to continue, even though they did something that the fans want, we don't want to pursue that. That's Konami-ish. So we can't.
No, I don't completely agree with that. The reason being is that there's the Nintendo library is just too fucking huge to sit there and perpetuate and sustain each and every title. That's out.
Konami's library was huge.
Yeah, but Konami went ahead and straight up said, "Fuck you guys, we wanted to do pachinko." All right, I'm just saying, as far as all of it goes, you know, it's you know, they don't have unlimited resources. They don't even have first party resources as big as Sony. All right, to go ahead and follow up that anything like that. So in which case, you know, whatever they go ahead and they decide to put out, you know, unfortunately the same creative people aren't going to be there the whole fucking time, which reflects and sort of just with the changing landscape of their library. But on this particular end here, I think they're kind of stuck in the spot where they have to go ahead and they have to hold their stance on it. Otherwise, they risk too much. They risk too much to lose. All right.